Hey everyone, and welcome to the NASCAR Stop Motion Track Showcase. Today, I'm going to show you a few of my tracks that I've made and raced in my Miscraft Cup Series and Raptor Truck Series Stop Motion Series. There's quite a few of these to look at, so this will be a multi-parter. Keep your eye out here on the channel for the rest of this little mini-series here, where I'm going to go over all of my racetracks that I currently have. We will have some more videos with some brand new racetracks coming out soon. But you'll have to stay tuned for that. Doing videos like this allows me to kind of showcase some of the smaller things that might not get picked up into the actual stop motion videos themselves. It also allows you to kind of get a different look at the track that's when it's not under studio light and very close focus to race cars on the track. So just a different perspective here for some of the tracks that I've built for my stop motion series. Let's go and get started, shall we? And first up here is my Bristol Motor Speedway. This is the most recent stop motion on the channel as I am filming this little video here. And all I did here, I just took off the race cars and everything is as is from that race. So if you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out here. You know, there's a lot of really cool things about this racetrack. Especially since I just kind of reconfigured it in my own way here. Before this season, my Bristol track did not have banking, and now it does. You can kind of see here, I've got the styrofoam here about, I don't know, maybe an inch thick here. It's not, you know, the steepest, it's not your 24 to 28 degree banking like Bristol has in real life, but it gets the job done here. I think it's a little bit thicker over here in turn 1. Yeah, you can definitely see that here. So that was one of the limitations I had with rebuilding this, but you can clearly see the banking there and the kind of the transition that it has. And so it, in a way, helped make the track a lot wider and a lot easier to film on than it was previously when it was flat. You can see here even the straightaways have banking as well. And one of the cool things about Bristol is that the track gets really black where the rubber starts to lay in. And so basically all I did here was take a black pastel and kind of scrape it around and then smooth it out there with either my finger or a cotton ball. You can kind of see I also started to kind of add in some as the race was going on the top side of the racetrack to show that the outer groove was coming in. And even during the race here, you can kind of see the remnants of some of the speedy dry that I had. From when Chris Buescher got hit really hard in the front end and leaked oil all the way down the racetrack here. And so that was a pretty cool little addition into the series I've never really done before. So alright, so here's kind of another just kind of sweep around here of the racetrack. Not too much going on here. The infield is pretty thin. So if you're going to want to fit any cars in there, good luck. You know, I added a couple of wall logos and stuff that aren't really there in real life. Like, there's no FedEx logos and stuff like that. But that's just kind of keeping the essence of the Miscraft Cup Series in itself here. And you can see that right there as well. So, yeah, that's the Bristol Motor Speedway, track number 1 of this video. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Alright, next track here is what will be my old Martinsville Speedway. I will be building a brand new one for the Miscraft Cup Series Season 9 when we do go here in the chase this season. But I thought I would show off what my Martinsville Speedway from, I think, oh gosh, seasons, I honestly cannot remember all the seasons at this race. And I think it was seasons 7, 9, and the remaster of Season 1, I did this track. And it's pretty rough. You can see here the dash lines are way too thick. The choose cone is really janky. And it's a really thin racetrack, of course, and it's on cardboard, so it's warped and everything as well. The curbs here, they're all flat. And so everything here is just really old school, kind of, you know, just kind of slap some paint on a race, on some cardboard and race on it, right? That's really all this was, and this will be changed come Chase of Season 9. Nothing too special about it except for the fact that it's gray painted and it has the logo Martinsville on it. So there you are, Martinsville Speedway, circa Season 7 to Season 8. Alright, track number 3 is another old one here. This is my Indianapolis Motor Speedway track. Very pale and very flat, right? A lot of this is just like a lot of the color here is only what came out of the bottle. There's almost no black, white, gray mixture stuff going on here. It's either full gray or the base green that came out of the bottle. And that's one thing that I've improved on drastically when it comes to my more recent tracks here. It's a rectangle of green, full of rectangle of gray, full of some green here. And I even tried to do some makeshift curbs here, but I never got the blue paint out to finish out. So yeah, if I were to build this track now, I would most definitely have those curbs painted as they are in real life. And yeah, so there you are here. The bricks are actually hand painted here. That's something that I probably would do again, honestly. You know, I think that it looks better than just downloading an image and then putting it on the racetrack. I don't know if I'm ever going to do an Indianapolis race again, but it's pretty cool to have this little track right here. And I'll give you a different look here from this side of the track. You can see it's really old. You can tell because of the way the walls are really, really frayed here. And also how warped the cardboard is. And so that's one thing I'm trying to do more of now, is get away from cardboard as much as I possibly can, because it creates so many issues here. But the grooves that it has can be pretty cool for detailing and stuff. But yeah, overall this is not too shabby of a racetrack, but it's also not the greatest. And we're gonna finish out this video by showing you guys 2 of my really cool racetracks. So let's go ahead and see what those are. Alright, next up here is the Daytona International Speedway, and this is one of the more recent rebuilds that I've done. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite tracks that I have. I mean, you gotta have a good Daytona if you're gonna be a stop motion creator, man. It's just a necessity. The really cool thing about this track is that it was the first track that I did permanent baking on, and it is also the only track that will ever be a full piece of plywood. This thing is the heaviest track that I have. Because it's just on full plywood. And so, lesson learned, don't do it on something like this. This track is the first one that permanent banking. It is used on most occasions as kind of a switch track between both Daytona and Talladega. And I will be changing this track into Talladega temporarily, I suppose. All it really is just a repaint of this surface right here. Everything else on the far side can stay pretty much the same. And then some lines and stuff here and there for lanes and stuff for Talladega. And then of course I would have to move the choose cone and the start finish line all the way down to here as well. But that is no big deal at all, really. I used to do chalk racetracks, and every single time I would start up a new race, I'd completely redraw a new racetrack. And so you know, I could get myself another Talladega track, but it just saves so many more resources just to turn this track into Talladega. And one of my favorite things is, it's a really small thing, but I love these logos here, like about a car width off of the bottom. And I've also always loved the way that these little white dashed lines are in the middle of the double yellow line at Daytona. That's just one of my favorite things ever. Also, you might have noticed, but some of the catch fencing has been coming off here. As I was putting it up, so I just kind of took it off, and I'll put it back on later. But yeah, that's no big deal at all. It's really just weather stripping, and so I can just put it up there like that and it stays. So that's no big deal at all. That's just a little small cosmetic thing that takes 10 minutes to fix. I will say one thing that is different about this racetrack is the fact that I actually made the infield grass a lot smaller than it used to be. And pit road used to be over here, and this grass used to be a lot longer and thinner and went all the way across here till about here, I think. Somewhere around here. I'll put up some video of old version of Daytona here, but it used to be a long sweeping tri-oval, but now it's more pointed and it looks so much better. And yeah, I gotta say, man, it really brings out the character of the racetrack here. And one thing that I started doing here that makes these tracks look so much better is, in real life, they have these bright orange streaks here in the restart zone. And I don't know what it is about bright orange, but it makes the track feel real. It makes it feel like a real racetrack. And I don't know, I thought that was something really cool I started adding in. You'll see it again in the next track as well when we get to that. But yeah, the choose cone here as well. You know, everything is just so cool. And of course the infield here, during race time, it would have a whole bunch of decorations and everything, but just for the sake of this video, it's just the base track. And you can see that here, a really cool piece, one of my favorites. And we're gonna move on to the last track of this video. All right, so here's kind of a sneak peek of where like everything is stored. I got my Atlanta track here, my Daytona track, and all my other tracks are way back here. So I've got like a huge like just cluster of racetracks here, and we'll get to a whole bunch of them in later videos. But one thing I wanted to show off here, this is the Daytona track we were just looking at, and on the back side of it, and I don't know how many of you are going to remember this, but I did do once a painted Watkins Glen racetrack, and it is on the back side of what used to be my Talladega track and my Daytona track when it didn't have banking. But when I put banking on it, I left Watkins Glen on the back side to kind of be sad. You can see here from the Season 1 remaster, the taped on number logos there. And so I thought that was some little Easter egg that not many people know. And yeah, it's one really cool little detail here. You can kind of see some more of the track down there too. So yeah, Watkins Glen, fun fact, is on the back side of my Daytona/Talladega track. Also, one thing to note is that these tracks are 6 feet tall. Most of them are 6 feet tall. And you can see that here, they are taller than me when they are standing. Like, that is pretty cool, I think. So there you are. We're going to take a look at this one next, and we're going to end out the first episode of this, the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Let's take a look. Well, here we are, the final track for the video. Look how big this, I mean, 6x4, man, like huge track here. And this is the Atlanta Motor Speedway. You can see I last used this for the NASCAR Community Cup Series race that I did last summer. And this is my home track, the fun stuff of Atlanta Motor Speedway, the repave, reconfiguration. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorites here. And yeah, it doesn't get much better than this, man. I mean, I just love the way that I was able to get all of the seams and everything into this racetrack here. And the one thing that I did that the real-life Atlanta Motor Speedway doesn't have is this yellow line right here in between the white double lines. They don't have that in real life. It's all red from the first weekend when they did the full Daytona Quick Trip 500 stuff. And it annoys me to this day that it is still white and red on the inside lane. They run the Ambetter Health 400, which is pink, and then they run the Quaker State 400, which is green and gold. So the red just does not fit in on either weekend anymore, and it's kind of sad that they don't, you know, take into liberty some really cool creative ideas here for something like that. But you can still see the Miscraft Cup Series logos on the wall. All of this will look nice and fresh when we get to it. The Season 9 race here very, very soon here. Yeah, there's the backstretch there. A lot of the patches you can see here that have already started to happen here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. You see a couple of those there. And there's a few over here as well. They aren't, I don't think the patches are set to real life. Everything else is pretty close to it. I took a lot of creative liberties when I made this track. And yeah, the line and some of the patches were one of them. Yeah, one of my favorite parts of this is always the start-finish line. One thing I've loved about the Atlanta Motor Speedway is that they've always had a logo here, here, and then they've had the, whatchamacallits, these two logos there as well. And I've always loved seeing the cars come across the Atlanta logo here. I used to always sit front row here, you know, right at start-finish line when I was younger. That's just something, a core memory I have, so I wanted to make sure that the start-finish line was perfect. And I think it's pretty dang good. Not too many things I'm going to have to change here when it comes down to the Miscraft Cup Series time, other than the big logo that's going to have to be in the center here, and then the choose cone and everything there going down to turn when you see that as well. Now, another cool thing about Atlanta Motor Speedway is that they do Friday night drag racing in the summertime, and there's always a kind of concrete-ish, or like there's a strip of asphalt here that's always a lighter color that they'll put down that sticky stuff for the drag racing, and they'll go all the way down pit lane and then into turn 1, and that's a cool little detail to have in there too. And of course the new pit lane policies. I'm gonna have to touch that up when it comes down to the next race here. Other than that, that is pretty much it here for the Atlanta Motor Speedway and for the first 5 tracks of this little mini series. I got a ton more to do, so you might get 2 or 3 more videos out of me here coming in the near future here. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little idea, this little showcase of stop motion racetracks. That's pretty much it from me, and I will see you guys in the next episode of this little series. And until then, I'll see you next time.